Hello, good morning. Good Thursday morning. How are you, Maria?
I'm great. Good Thursday morning to you as well.
So, as per our new routine, Thursday mornings, we're taking questions from our viewers that we've received. So, I'm going to go ahead and start. This is a question that um, I think generates a lot of interest because a lot of people have this desire. The question is, how do I change my partner? And
I love that question.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
looking for some tips. Or
Yes.
are you gonna share us what you've done?
Have a little, have some things I've been thinking about.
Yeah, I, I'm gonna share what I've been thinking about and see. I'll get you to weigh in. But in all seriousness, I
Yeah, that would be a wonderful trick, right? Can you imagine?
I saw this question and that my first response is hearkening to the Gandhi quote, "Be the change that you want to see in the world."
Hmm.
Um, I don't think that we can't change anyone other than ourselves, and trying to change other people, whether it's your partner, your child, your business partner, a sibling, that is, you're looking for trouble, I think,
Hmm.
because it not only is it not, in my opinion, it's not really possible to change other people. People are who they are, and the desire for change has to come from them.
Right.
But one thing that I would advise is this acceptance of, um, you know, control. Like
Oh,
I can control myself, what I do, but I can't control other people's behavior. And so that's like a losing game, trying to control, believing or thinking or attempting to control other people's behavior, I think is the wrong the wrong path to take. It's about controlling your own behavior and maybe controlling how you respond to other people's behavior. If it's an undesirable behavior, there then we can talk about strategies about, your response and what you're willing to accept, right?
right. Let me cue up your slide.
Yes. So
Yes.
I, this for me, I think this is a really clear reminder for people of what is actually in our control and what's out of our control. So, just reading from the top, out of my control, the past, the future, what happens around me, what other people think, the actions of others, the opinions of others, the outcome of my efforts, right? How
Hmm.
others take care of themselves. All of those things are out of our control. And I think there's an immense freedom
Oh,
in
yes.
realizing this is not in my control. I don't have agency there. So let me dedicate my time to the things that I do have control of, like the goals I set, how I speak to myself, my boundaries, what I give my energy to, how I handle challenges, my thoughts and actions. All of those things are in our own individual control. And some of these things folks may not even be aware of. Like, I remember having a conversation with a gentleman about, not being able to control his thoughts, but actually you do have agency there. And, you know, it's about exercising a muscle. practicing and making progress towards making that change. But I would love to hear your thoughts.
Right. You really want to know what I do, because as you, I'm in a long-term relationship, over 20 years, and to be honest, it hasn't been easy. It isn't. It's normal, I feel, for us to want to control our partner, to control the kids, to control the people at work, to have people fall in line with what we want, and what we think is the course that everyone should be on. And I would have to say that I think that is a level of maturity that we have, that we feel the need to control other people. When we feel the need to control other people, what we're actually saying is, I know what's best for you. And in actuality, we can't know what's best for someone else, because we don't know what their perspective is. And in some cases, in a lot of cases, we ourselves, we don't know what our perspectives are. And the other person doesn't understand their perspectives and how they're seeing their reality. Certain circumstances, if you're dealing or you're in a relationship with someone who Lord, this will be right back. But if you're in a relationship with someone who has behavior that's detrimental to you, such as if they are an addict, if they're someone who's having issues with alcohol, with drugs, if there's violence, if there's abuse, if there's verbal abuse, then these are serious things that you need to take a look at and say, why am I tolerating this? How can I change my circumstances? But again, it's you changing your circumstances. The reason that someone goes into a path that is negative for them, and that they are, self-destructive or self-sabotaging, is something that's going on within them, and based on what has happened to them in the past, or that one time that they tried drugs and they loved it and they just kept doing it. Whatever the reason is, that person, it's an inside job. They're the ones that have to figure out what is going to help them, and they need professional help. It's not something that you're going to be able to not in a relationship. It's not something that you're going to be able to help them with in a way that is going to shift them. They have to want to change. If you and that person don't agree on certain things, that's okay. If you don't agree on certain things that are minor, if they're major things, then when you want to change their opinion, then first you have to respect them and see what it is that they want and why. Why do they need things to be that way? And we should be asking ourselves why we need things to be a certain way. We always think that our perspective is the best perspective until someone else shows us the possibility of a new perspective. And we have to be open to the possibility that our perspective is not entirely correct. Now, as far as a situation where you want your partner to change, then present to your partner the reasons, the whys that you want them to change certain things. And be respectful and open to the fact that they have their own set of beliefs and values. And if a belief of theirs is not the same or in the same hierarchy as yours, then there's going to be a little struggle. But you have to remember that that person is their own individual. And we have to respect the fact that there's a reason that they have this opinion. And maybe that opinion is wrong in with our values, But what we want to do is find out why that person's perspective, their values, their hierarchy in their beliefs and values, why that is, but with respect, because once that person feels that they've been heard, that they've been understood, then they're more open to changing what it is that they think, or at least shifting enough so that both of you can decide what's the correct path, because it has to be where you're both satisfied. You don't want to continue, or you don't want to start building resentments with getting your way, because we have a lot of divorce, and we have a lot of separation, and one of the reasons that we have that is because we're not able to communicate with each other. And so communication is the key to really to change not just your partner, but also to change you. You have to be willing to say, okay, what are the reasons that he or she might want to do this in a certain way? What is going on that makes it so that they want to do it this way? And once you understand why, that's when you can start to see, oh, okay, so we don't agree on this. Is it possible that you can shift? And so that's how you start to change your partner, because you start to change the way that you communicate with your partner, not to manipulate your partner, but to create a greater intimacy and communication with your partner, so that you both understand that we are trying to do this. It's a we. It's not I want to get my way, you're going to get your way. My values are more important. My beliefs are more important than your beliefs. My hierarchy makes more sense. Our hierarchy, our beliefs, and our perspectives are all based on our own experiences. And, unless you're dating somebody that you grew up with in your family home, then your perspectives are probably very different, but even your own siblings don't have the same perspectives and values as you do, because they experience things as individuals. So to get back to why, or how do I change my partner? It's like, as Lourdes was saying, you change your partner. Hi, Lourdes. So I was just getting back to you, to your answer, which was, how do I change my partner? And the thing is, yes, it's us, our perspective. We're the ones that have to go inside and say, okay, so what is it that I'm doing that's creating this potential conflict? And is this acceptable? Is it not acceptable? And what can I learn from my partner? Why they want or see things in this way? And communication, to me, is like the biggest thing, is to communicate, because there's a reason that they need certain things to be done. In fact, there's sometimes people want certain things to be a certain way because they need control. And needing control is about safety. And if you want to create as much safety as you can, that means that obviously at a visceral level, you feel that the world is unsafe and that you have to create a safe world. And so when you have a partner that's very controlling, what you really want to do is communicate to that part of them that is feeling unsafe. And so it's about slowing down and validating the person's emotions, as opposed to trying to validate what they're actually saying. It's validate the emotion that they're feeling, because when you communicate at an emotional level, that's when you really start to see what that person is needing at that moment. And when you are able to feed that emotion, respond to that emotion, then your partner can relax. They feel safer, and you can move on from there. But you come from always a point of validating the emotion and respecting your partner's opinion. Because if you don't have respect for the other person, then that's a big problem in a relationship. If you can't respect your partner, really, that's where you need to start.
Absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree. Respect is essential. And the other thing that you said that I got to hear, because I didn't hear most of your answer, unfortunately, is addressing, what need are they trying to fill?
Right.
And looking at the underlying reasons behind the behavior, right? And so in that way, we can respond to what's really going on, not
Right.
the exterior behavior that you may be reacting to. But
Right.
if I go down a couple of levels and see, all right, well, what is this recurring behavior about? And
Right.
what need are they trying to meet with that? And addressing the need as opposed to how you want them to change. But
Right.
yes, it does require not only respect, but patience and also self-reflection. Because sometimes the behavior that we want to change in others is about our own needs and
Right.
our own reactions and our own triggers
Right.
for, what we're dealing with. And so it really is something that folks need to work through. And, it's not, it's, it's always easier to look at other people's behavior than
Mm-hmm.
it is to look at our own stuff, right?
Right.
I
Yeah.
think that's just,
I'm glad that you added that on, because sometimes we get into disagreements with not just our partners, but we also get into disagreements with other people around us, and it's because sometimes it's our emotional state that we're ignoring. And if you're feeling out of control, then you want to control, right? And so that's the issue that needs, or the emotion that needs to be validated. So if we want a certain thing, or if we feel like we have to have it this way, then we need to ask ourselves, why do I need it this way? Why is this so important? And we need to get to the root, to sometimes emotionally, what is it that I'm feeling? What is it that I really need? Because sometimes what we need is assurance. What we need is compassion. What we need sometimes is just to be held, or not to be alone, or to be to know that we are not, really, that we're not alone in whatever is going on. And we need to validate our own emotion and say, okay, let me address my own emotional needs before I start asking somebody to do something, just because really, in reality, my emotional need isn't being met. And we're the only ones that can really meet our emotional needs. We can validate other people's emotional needs, but we're the only ones that can meet our emotional needs. I can't meet your emotional needs. You have to meet your own emotional needs. I can be there for you. I can hold the space for you.
yeah. And, in talking about relationships, long-term relationships, for example, sometimes it is the specific needs of being feeling seen, heard, valued, appreciated,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes behavior is born out of that, out of
Mm-hmm.
those needs. And so it really is essential to not just look at what the effect is, but what is the cause? What is the
Right.
cause behind this effect? And another thing that I think is worth pointing out is, and I just lost my train of thought. Um, what I was It's, yeah, nope, lost it.
Okay, so what I was going to say is that sometimes, we have a fear of abandonment, right? And so because sometimes we have a fear of abandonment, sometimes we experience a lot of shame. And when you're speaking with your partner, if you begin to shame them, then they start to fear abandonment. And so when they start to fear abandonment, well, now they're in a defense mode. Now they're trying to protect themselves. They're not trying to protect, the actual physical person that they are right now. They're trying to protect that little part of them that feels threatened. And so one of the things that we should all avoid is shaming our partner to get our way, because that's not healthy for you. It's not healthy for them. It's not healthy for the relationship, because what you're creating is a bigger distance. You might get what it is that you wanted, but what you've created is somebody who doesn't feel safe with you. And so once they don't feel safe with you, that level of intimacy starts to diminish. If you're someone who shames your partner all the time, your level of intimacy is going down. It's not he might or she might do everything that you want, but they don't feel connected to you as you progressively shame them. And that's one of the reasons that people go outside of their relationship for this safety, this intimacy, because they're not getting it at home. And
Right.
and that's not to say that it's entirely your fault. It's entirely the fault of the manner in which both of you are communicating.
Yeah, and I also just want to, even though the question was about partners, I do want to broaden with regards to other relationships,
Hmm.
and whether it's a coworker or a friend or a family member or your children, that shame leads to not feeling safe,
Hmm.
and that is detrimental in any relationship,
Yeah.
because it's a barrier to closeness. If I don't feel safe in your presence, then it's an impediment. It's an impediment to closeness.
Yeah, and we have people getting into relationships at very young age because they're looking for a level of intimacy that's not available to them at home, because what they get at home is a lot of criticism and shame. And so the parent feels like, oh, I'm controlling my child and I'm showing them how to go down the right path. What you're actually showing them is that you're not safe. And what you're feeding them is that they're not worthy. And so you're creating low self-esteem, and you're developing or helping the child develop into a person that has many issues, emotional issues, such as attachment, which they will attach to somebody that makes them feel good 30% of the time, because at least they're getting 30% of feeling good, as opposed to getting 100% of shame. And so you see, these young couples that are, have this trauma bond, but, it's a trauma bond relationship, which is not healthy in any way.
Right. And then coming back to where we started with the question, how do I change my partner? It like, where's the acceptance?
Hmm. Right. Right. That's absolutely true.
In all of these relationships, I have to feel accepted for who I am.
Hmm.
I'm not saying I'm perfect, not by any means, no one is, right? But it's like, flaws and all, right?
Hmm.
Accepting the people in front of you, flaws and all.
Right. Right. And when you start to grow, when you start to have greater self-compassion, then you will also have more compassion for your partner, because you'll understand that you'll come to a point where you accept yourself. And once you accept yourself, that's when you can really start questioning your values and your beliefs and say, you know what, I don't really need that anymore. That's a defense mechanism. And you start realizing, oh, that person, that's a defense mechanism because there's something else going on. And so you start to realize there's something else going on all the time with yourself and with the people around you. And so you have more compassion for them and you have less judgment. And when you have less judgment, that's when you have greater acceptance.
Yeah, I think it's important to add in here that, we're talking about not harmful behavior, not detrimental behavior, not we're not talking about toxic relationships
Right.
where, boundaries are being crossed. That's not what we're talking about.
Right, right. That was what I addressed when we
Oh,
had.
good.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because it's really important. I mean, if you're in a situation where there's some sort of abuse, then that's not a person that is at a level that you can actually communicate to their to their core emotional needs. That's somewhere where you need help, and they need to want to shift those get those emotional needs met so that they can take the shift. And that's not something that you can do. They have to be willing to say, I can't be angry anymore. Like, I work with a lot of anger patients or clients, and the thing is, anger comes from something that happened to you that you're still fighting, and it's something that only you can take care of. You can't have people saying, "Oh no, I'm not gonna trigger them. I'm not gonna push their buttons." It's like, well, that's insane. That's insane. You think that people should not trigger you? It's like, why don't you just put the gun down? You'd be happier.
Well, it looks like we've used up more than all of our time.
Oh yes. Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Definitely. All right, so we only got to one question this week. Next Thursday, we'll try to get a couple of more questions answered for our viewers, and we appreciate you sending in the questions. And we welcome any comments or any input on any of the information that we shared today.
Excellent.
All right. See you on Tuesday.
Yes.